This is Climbing Game, one of the more recent games on Roblox, and one that has caught my eye for the past couple weeks. It's a simple obby-like game where you perform several climbs to gain money to buy more climbs, and the cycle repeats. Inspired by games like Peaks of Yore, just more in line with the Roblox style. It's a fun game. So after doing basically everything that the game had to offer, I asked myself the question that every aspiring content creator hungry for views and fame would think of. How can I make this a torturous experience for myself and my well-being? See, this is why I never upload. Because, well, you know, the game is fun and all, but the climbs are low-key like really easy. Even the hardest climb in the game at a difficulty of Formidable was only a bit tough to beat, but still nothing that crazy. So damn it, if the game won't give me a challenge, then I guess I'll have to create it myself. But first, an overview of the game. Welcome to the Climbing Game testing facility, created by yours truly to showcase the mechanics to anyone that hasn't come across the game beforehand. But don't worry, it's easy. Every mountain consists of a couple of things, but the main gameplay factor are the type of holds. So here they are. This is a regular hold. You get close to it and you grab it, then you can jump off of it. Keep in mind that you can jump off holds in two ways, which I like to call a horizontal jump and a vertical jump. If you jump off then hold the directional key, you get a higher jump. But if you jump while holding a directional key, then you sacrifice a bit of height in exchange for more distance. Then we got a grip with a dark red color. Grips are similar to a regular hold, but you have to click spacebar to actually stay on it. Then you can jump off normally. This is a crimp hold. With a blue color, this one slowly drains your stamina. And when your stamina depletes completely, you are unable to grab onto any more holds. Luckily, you can gain it back if you stand on holds that don't deplete your stamina. So this hold is specifically designed to keep you moving. And then we got the release hold, which is like a crimp but on crack. It drains your stamina extremely fast. So the first thing that you should do when you grab it is immediately get off of it. Otherwise, half of your stamina will be gone in the blink of an eye. Finally, we have the crumble and slippery hold, which have their own mechanics attached to them. The crumble hold acts like a regular hold, but breaks 3 seconds after you get on it, only coming back 5 seconds later. The slippery hold slowly brings you down and depletes your stamina, so you have to climb it quick and maybe adjust if you put yourself in a bad spot. So now that we know what I'm working with, how did I manufacture a challenge that would take me over 17 hours to beat, not counting the time I had already spent beating the entire game? Well, buckle up, because here is where it gets real crazy. The way this challenge works is by combining several self-imposed restrictions, starting off with number 1, you must complete every climb in the game in a row. This one is pretty self-explanatory. The map icon over here displays every single map in the game that is accessible, and excluding Carlos Supply Shack because it's not actually a climb, there are 31 climbs available in game, which is now outdated, but we'll get to that in a bit. Number 2, you must collect every flag available in each climb. So each climb has a bunch of extra paths to get a flag collectible. The amount of flags in each climb can go from 1 all the way up to 4 depending on the length and difficulty of it. So for this challenge, I would also have to get every single one. Number 3, you must play in true climber mode. You see, whenever you join Climbing Game for the first time, you're put in average climber mode. But if you're a pro, then you can switch to true climber mode. What does it do? Well, it only messes with your stamina, making it deplete much faster than normal mode. How much faster? Well, in normal mode, crimps take 5 seconds to deplete your stamina and releases take only 2 seconds. In hard mode or true climber mode, that time gets halved, which means that you only have 1 second to get out of a release before you can't hold onto it anymore, which as you can imagine is pretty brutal. Number 4, you cannot use any intentional shortcuts. This one doesn't matter that much, it's just a hotfix for a mountain that contains a couple of intentional shortcuts that basically skip half of the mountain, which I wasn't planning to use anyway. Number 5, you can't use nails to save yourself. Nails are another integral mechanic to Climbing Game. You're given a set number in every climb and you can place them against the wall to basically tether yourself to it. And then you can make it shorter or longer as you like. And after you're done with it, you can take it off and continue. This, of course, is very good for practicing sections as it saves you from falling, which is why I'm not gonna use it. But notice how I worded the rule. I can't use it to save myself. I say it like that because I can't just ban them, as there are situations where I am forced to use a nail, making them required for progression. We're almost at the end of the challenge, and I've saved the best rule for this. Number 6, you, under any circumstances, cannot make any mistakes, otherwise it will result as an invalid run. This is where most of the difficulty of the challenge comes from. But like, what even counts as a mistake? Well, my definition of a mistake and the definition I will be using for this challenge is that any loss of more than one hold of progress is considered a mistake. This makes situations like these not count, but others do. This, of course, isn't perfect for all situations, especially for branching paths to get flags, which can be a little weird to approach, so I will be using the way that I believe is more logical. So yeah, those are the elements of the challenge. Together, they are pretty damn scary. In fact, I didn't even know if I would be able to do it, but I was excited to try it out. One last thing, I also decided to give this challenge a name because, well, I like giving things names. I decided to name it Free Solo in homage of the documentary and style of rock climbing of the same name, which surprisingly fits the idea of the challenge, just without the whole risking my actual life part, so, you know. If anybody wants to add that, be my guest. So now that we understand what I'm about to do, it's time to get climbing. The challenge started off hot, with me being able to get through nearly the entirety of the Alar region on the first try, which is the starting area of the map and consists of mostly easy, short climbs with one flag or two. In fact, my biggest fear of the challenge at that point was not the difficulty of the climbs, as I had become pretty comfortable with the way the game works and the climbs within it. No, my biggest fear of the challenge was actually missing a flag, because when I first had the idea of this challenge, I wasn't planning at all to collect any flags or even be in true climber mode, but I changed it because of pressure to myself to do better and bigger things, which, leaving the whole topic of discussion as to why that isn't healthy, had me absolutely paranoid looking around for any flags I might have potentially missed before. One flag, let me look around for it real quick. I just don't want to miss a flag. If I'm going too fast, I might miss it, and that's pretty bad, so. All I could do really is be hyper observant and try not to overthink it, and over time, I should remember the flags more and more clearly. After finishing off the easy bunch, it was time to finish off the region by doing the two climbs in the area that I would consider a bit of a challenge, those being Mount Solkara and Ruined Skyscraper, landing at a difficulty of difficult and tough, respectively. Mount Solkara went well, but Ruined Skyscraper, not so much. The climb consists of 3 flags scattered evenly throughout the climb. The first and second flags are simple, short branching paths, but the third flag is a little bit more involved. To get it, I use a piece of tech called nail jumping, which works by releasing a nail after a jump, giving you a second jump of sorts. Then I go over to the flag and perform another nail jump, which looks kinda scary, but I can always save myself on this hold and retry until I get it. Then go back to the main path. Sadly, things didn't go quite how I expected them to be. This scary part. No. Oh no. Yeah, that was sad. Well, all I can do is take the fall and try again. 10 out of 31 climbs. Still far from done, but hey, maybe this challenge won't take as long as I imagined. I started off the second attempt by doing Skyscraper, this time not making any mistakes. That'd be silly if I failed this. Okay, there we go. Ruined Skyscraper, and then going backwards in difficulty until I got to the easiest climbs. With this friendlier ordering, I snagged my first victory of the Alar region, but that was expected since I am the most familiar with it. Moving on to the Alar coast, I did pretty well in the easy climbs such as Shimmering Ridge and Mount Byerthorn, but sadly I wouldn't have such luck on my next climb, Echo Hollow, a cave-like route dangling over the abyss. I would miss a grip jump after collecting the first flag, ending my run in the process with 15 out of 31 climbs finished. Still though, I was far from halfway done. The next attempt was another Alar region sweep, but tragically died again on Echo Hollow because of me somehow re-grabbing the release, draining all my stamina before I could even think about what just happened. No, what? On my after having enough of Echo Hollow, I decided to get it done first, then did Shimmering Ridge, Treetop Uprise, Mount Byerthorn, and Seaside Cliff. Point Blue was another climb that I didn't remember much of. Okay, Point Blue. 2 flags. I know where one is. It's kind of scary. The other one, I have no idea. Okay. But didn't end up being too bad. Ravenous Ravine was next as the first difficult map with 3 flags. One especially being after the finish on a trail of grips, which I somehow failed. Third mountain that puts a flag after that. Attempt 5 literally died on the tutorial for me trying to be cool, we don't talk about that. And attempt 6 was promising, but ended early for me for getting a flag in Mount Byerthorn. I didn't miss it, right? No! Oh my god, no. The next attempts were probably the lowest point of the challenge, as I was finding it difficult to break through and make significant progress, dwindling my confidence as time passed. Because if I couldn't pull all the easy climbs in a row, well, there's no way I'd be able to do the more difficult ones. But hey, at least I found a really funny way to die in Mount Virathorn. Boom. No! I knew that was gonna happen one time. God damn it. I'm sure this won't happen in any other run though. Attempt 9 made it through the Alar coast once again, and this time I did hold the grips at the end of Ravenous Ravine, but right after collecting the flag and celebrating, I realized that I still had a bit more climbing to do. Yes! Yes! Let's fucking go. Shimmering Ridge, come on, just let's go for it. I must be on flat ground. Okay, well, let me get back then. A small inconvenience, but all I needed to do was get back safely to the end. I decided to implement a sideways nail jump here for safety reasons. Basically just a nail jump but holding a directional key, which gives you more horizontal distance, which was also a trick I used in Echo Hollow after the first fight. I landed the nail jump but sadly fell at the very next hold, ending the run instantly. I'm so goated, bro. And man, things were still not going my way. I still hadn't broken through my unlucky streak, and even though I was getting runs to difficult climbs, I wasn't able to overcome my mind block, and it was becoming increasingly frustrating. But finally, I had my breakthrough. The run started once again by sweeping the entirety of the Alar region. Moving on to the coast, I had a close call on Shimmering Ridge. I would have been so mad. Got my first completion of Ravenous Ravine. Yes! Yes! That was all about, man. Okay, Echo Hollow. Made my way through Echo Hollow and Point Blue and finished all the easy climbs. So it was time to move to the third region of the map, the Alarian Wilderness. Probably the place I had the least practice with. I started off with Towering Oasis with a pretty easy flag. Powering through my nerves, I also finished Cliffside Mineshaft, Rattlebone Rock, and Serenity Rest. The run finally ended at the advanced map, Doomfall Shrine, after a very disappointing miscalculation up here. Okay, fall back to the oh my god! I thought I had to fall back into the crumble. Turns out I did get it correctly, but if I had just landed on the platform instead of trying to grab the crumble, I wouldn't have ragdolled and lost the run. Regardless, it was my best run by far, completing 22 out of 31 climbs I had to do and lasting 35 minutes from start to end. I was satisfied with my run, but I still wanted to push it further, so I did a couple more runs starting at the Alarian Wilderness, most of them ending pretty quickly, but run 14 and run 18 making it pretty far through the area. No way! Especially run 18, which completed the entire thing and then died to my favorite climb, Echo Hollow, for missing the timing of the nail jump. Yippee! At this point, it had turned midnight, sending me into day 2 of the challenge, but I kept persevering to achieve my first of 3 goals that I set myself. The first being getting a run at 29 out of 31 climbs done. It sounds ridiculous since that is basically all the climbs, but I wanted this goal to be a significantly easier version of the challenge, leaving out the 2 hardest climbs and doing the rest all in a row. And I was getting really close to doing it. Attempt 13 combined with only having one more region to learn, that being the community region, gave me more confidence to pull off my first 29 out of 31 run. So how did it go? Run 19 died because of a difficult sequence in the hardest climb of the wilderness region, Dust Reach Chasm, leaving me in an awkward angle where I couldn't place a nail, killing me. Run 20 died similarly early because of an unfortunate ragdoll. Couldn't do much about that. Bro, what? On run 21, I finally completed Dust Reach Chasm and Ravenous Ravine back to back, but later died in Serenity Rest due to me being stupid. That one was particularly annoying. Run 22 finally started off promising with me wiping out the entire wilderness region and doing Ravenous Ravine and Echo Hollow, but No! I'm doing this tower. I'm doing this climb first from now on. That is just unfair. I should mention that from this point onward, I did have a feeling that the challenge was working actively against me because this wasn't the only unfair fail I had, but that's for later, don't worry about it. Luckily, run 24 wouldn't be as disappointing as these last 5. Attempt 24 of the challenge starts off doing Mount Firethorn and then moving on to Dust Reach Chasm, where I made quick work of the scary climbing and subsequently finished off the rest of the area. But this time I wasn't planning on making any more silly mistakes. I then moved on to the Alar Coast, where I finished off the difficult Ravenous Ravine and Echo Hollow, and not too long after, the coast had fallen too. Now this was looking like a run. After that, I went back to the Alar region, and since most of the climbs there are easy, I just bulldozed through every single climb. That only meant that I had the last part left to conquer for the 29 out of 31 run, and that is the community. Wait, hold on, it seems that I have forgotten about another region that literally has a single climb on it, and it's probably just a teaser for a future update. Also, I almost died there. Oh my god. Anyway, the community region, where community made maps are featured in-game for an unspecified period of time and then are switched with newer, fresher maps to enjoy. At the time of doing the challenge, there were 5 maps available in there, those being 4 Seasons, Precipice Overhang, Coral Bank Isles, Abandoned Offshore, and we'll get back to this one soon, don't worry. I started off with 4 Seasons, an intermediate climb with pretty well hidden flags, and then moved on to Precipice Overhang, which has a pretty funny flag. Yeah, sometimes it does that. It's fine. Boom. Okay, now I definitely did touch it. Let's just go through the wall like a normal person would. Okay, and after securing victory there, I went over to Coral Bank Isles, which has some pretty involved courses to get the flags, but nothing I can't handle at this point. And even with a close call, I managed to get through the end intact. Finally, Abandoned Offshore was the last thing standing between me and the 29 out of 31. It's a pretty janky course, but not that difficult, so I should have no issues beating it. Finally, after 24 attempts, I finished the first step of 3 to complete the challenge. I've proven to myself that I am capable of doing all the smaller climbs all in succession, but there's still one piece of the puzzle left, and that piece, well, honestly makes this run look like a warm-up game. Say hello to the 2 big guys of climbing game. On the left we have Volcanic Ascent, the tallest climb of climbing game, standing in at 1253 meters. Due to its length, it was divided into these 3 sections, and when you beat the first 2, you can lower down the ladder that connects to the start so you don't have to do them again. But remember, that is banned, so we can't use those, and even if we could, we'd be skipping 2 flags in the process, which is also against the rules and makes me realize in the middle of the script that the 4th rule is actually redundant and doesn't serve any purpose, but I already wrote the script for it and I'm too lazy to change it now, and forget about it. All that you need to know is that this mountain is pretty long and difficult, standing in a difficulty of brutal. But that pales in comparison to the true star of the show, meet Winter Catastrophe. Standing in a difficulty of Formidable and a length incomparable to any other mountain because it takes upwards of 15 to 20 minutes to ascend this monster. And now I had to get over my fear and complete it with all the restrictions I put myself. Moving on to day 3 of the challenge, I finally got the courage to do my first attempts at Winter Catastrophe. Just like Volcanic Ascent, this climb is better divided into 5 distinct sections, each with gameplay dangling over certain death. And the difficulty doesn't only come from the length, because this mountain is special in the way that others aren't, and that is because in this climb, stamina actually matters a lot. That is because the opportunities to replenish it are very far between, and when the mountain puts you a combo of 3 releases and 2 crimps in a row, saving stamina is a requirement to do something like this. It will be crucial to master air jumping, which consists of pressing spacebar as soon as you grab a hold, minimizing time spent on it, and as a bonus you get slightly more height than normal. But the trick is way harder than it looks. Press too late and you lose slightly more stamina, and press too early and you sit there looking like an idiot, and good luck having the reaction time to save that. And it's the little optimizations that make something like this even possible, like using crumble holds to replenish just a bit of stamina before they disappear. So now that you know why this mountain is kind of a pain in the ass, well, now it's time to try it out. Just from the first couple of minutes of gameplay, it's pretty apparent that, yeah, this is a hard one. Chains of crimps and releases and a lot of wraparound jumps plague this mountain. The first flag even requires you to go through this release chain only to drop down and do the section all over again. And after getting the second flag, I took the zip line straight to the third section of the mountain, also called the pipeline sector, which is a bit harder gameplay wise with more awkward combinations of holds. I was handling the gameplay surprisingly well for being basically my first time. Still though, the number of close calls I had made it apparent that I couldn't lose focus for a second or I would make a mistake, and making a mistake at the end of the 15-minute long climb was the last thing I wanted. Luckily, I got past all the tricky bits and right into section 4, possibly the scariest section of them all, having some jumps that require some good adjustment of your position to pull off consistently. And sadly, the run ended before I could even try because of not grabbing a grip. But having a run go this far in a very short amount of time definitely gave me some reassurance that maybe I could be able to pull this off way quicker than I thought. Oh brother, the next attempts were not promising and definitely put down my confidence. What in my first run was just a fluke. I would go on to die in several silly ways, not even making it to section 3 most of the time, which is where in my opinion the more nerve-wracking part of the mountain began. But I persevered. Being honest, I wasn't really expecting to do this in one day. So I tried smaller goals like reaching section 3 or 4 to get that confidence back and put myself into a better mindset. But even with that, I was still making silly mistakes. I definitely need to stay in a chill state and definitely not do that. And it just kept going. It had been a good while since I had last gotten to section 4, so I really had to lock in. And so, I locked in. Oh my god, I grabbed it so early, I didn't have time to react. Okay, this really isn't working out. I was now basically fully convinced that the first attempt was just beginner's luck. And I kinda just accepted the fact that if I wanted to make any sort of progress, I would have to break the mind block. It really only takes one smidge of progress for it to snowball to something greater. And if I get to section 4 another time, I'll build consistency making it better at the mountain. But again, I had to lock in and not let these mistakes frustrate me anymore. Easier said than done. But still a barrier I had to overcome. And even though it did take a while, same thing again! Oh my god, same thing happened. Same fucking thing. I managed to break through. And just like that, back to section 4 of the mountain. Oh my god, sector 4, yes. Okay, sector 4, alright! And this time, I wasn't planning to die in 3 seconds like last time. Section 4 consists of a bit of a long climb, then a big chasm, and then finally another long climb before reaching the big wall of section 5. On the way to section 5, there is also a fork in the road for a flag containing a bunch of releases. And of course, a lot of difficult jumps that could end the run at any moment. So, with my nerves pretty high, I kept pushing through section 4. Eventually, I passed the chasm, leading me to a section with some really long jumps that you need to adjust on. Oh my god. Okay, I did the jump. That jump is like way harder than you think, okay? And I got them first try. This is probably the most nerve-wracking part of section 4, just because of the timing to grab the grip and the length of the jump. From now on, it wasn't easy, but doable. Could this be my first run to section 5? Sector 5. Yes it was. Finally at section 5, it's kind of a mix of everything really, with loads of release chains and crumble holds that we've seen throughout the entire mountain. But also a bunch more jumps around corners and pillars. Now, of course, my nerves were pretty high at this point, and it's expected. This is a 15-minute behemoth of a mountain after all. But if I just let my nerves take over me, one misstep could snowball into... Oh, no, I got panicked. I panicked and I got off the crumble when I should have used it. Well, can't say I wasn't happy with the attempt. Yeah, lesson learned. Nerves lead to stupid mistakes, so it's best to control them. Surely this won't lead to an even more catastrophic fail down the line. No, that wouldn't happen at all. It got a little stale for a while again after that. Many attempts would die due to some dumb mistake, or if I did make it far, nerves would cause me to fail crucial timing, such as the air jumps that I had to do throughout the entire climb. Oh my god, dude, I failed the air jump again! It was not pretty, and after an hour or more of attempts, it was getting a bit exhausting. But I decided to at least get back to section 5 again to maintain a good pace. Eventually, I made it back to the second half of section 4 after the chasm again, and I got ready to do the scary jumps at the start, and I got them again with no issues. Slowly but surely making it back to section 5, almost dying once or twice, but still mostly unscathed. Alright, back to section 5. Now that I knew a little bit better which sections to watch out for and most importantly control my nerves on, I started climbing the big wall. Hold by hold, getting closer to the finish. With my nerves through the roof, I kept pushing. Crimps, holds, releases, all harmoniously chained together as I climbed. I'm making this seem way more dramatic than it actually is. I soon passed the big scary wraparound jump, signaling that I was closer than ever. My stamina on the verge of running out multiple times, but I never fail. I never fail. And as I was standing on the final wall of the climb, I was prepared to celebrate my first completion of Winter Catastrophe with all the restrictions. But if I have ever been taught something from my geometry dash days, is to never celebrate too early. Because if you let your guard down even for just a moment, well... No! Why did I get off that crumble? I think I'm an idiot. I don't know if you saw that, but that patch of land was the literal end of the mountain. I just clip farmed and it wasn't even on stream. I played for 30 minutes more and I made no progress, so I just bit the bullet and left the completion for the next day. It was as disheartening as it seemed. I still find it insane that this even happened. Like, it really should have been a free win, and I'd love to know what was going on in my mind at that moment, but I guess I'll never know. Day 4 started off with a burst of confidence. I promise to you that today will be the day that Winter Catastrophe falls. I knew that if I got there once, I would get there again, and learning from the 2 past experiences, now I wasn't going to let anything stop me. No nerves, nothing. It took a bit to warm up, but after 15 minutes I was finally in the groove and made it back to section 4 without much issue. But I fumbled the scary jump with an atrocious setup. Luckily, I could get it back easily now. What? Oh, come on. Great, thanks. Semi-easily now. I could feel the consistency building up each attempt, and I knew that today, Winter Catastrophe would get beaten. Once again, I found myself in section 4. This time, nailing the scary jump, but didn't make it much farther than that. No, too early. I clicked too early. Fuck! Turns out grips are just kind of a pain in the ass to work with. With this bird's eye position of the camera, which is like the default for obbying, it's really hard to gauge the timing to grab onto the hold. It leads to a lot of deaths that just seem unfair. I could've, and that's why I put it at second place for the deadliest kind of cold. Right behind releases, of course. But all I could do is persevere. A mistake is a mistake, no matter how much I had to admit it. The next couple attempts were also not too promising, with multiple past section 3 or 4. Once again, I was spending multiple hours here with seemingly no progress made. I hadn't even made it to section 5 at all still. Is this just a worse performance than yesterday? But no, I couldn't be letting my confidence down. So I just kept trying for the run where it finally happened. But I continued playing worse and worse. It was another mind block that I had to break through. After an embarrassing amount of time, I finally had another shot at section 4. I was taking it slow, trying to control my nerves and replenish all my stamina before doing anything stupid. I passed the scary jump without any issue, and I even survived through a near-death experience after getting the flag. Oh my god. And not too long after, another one. Oh my god! But even after that, I somehow managed to make it to section 5 still alive, and with no other thing to do, I started climbing the wall. Surely nothing will happen this time, right? What? Are we fucking serious? I hope you understand me when I say that I really did think that this challenge had something against me, bro. Not only that disconnect took away my best shot at doing Winter Catastrophe finally, but you know what else it took away? My good mood. I was not feeling confident at all, and every single mistake that I made was not making it better. But at the same time, I couldn't stop playing because I had an urgent feeling that I had to do it today. Not only because I had to make a video, which yes, is a bit overdue, but also because it was Wednesday. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but I knew that this game updates on Saturdays. And not only that, the next one would be a big update. Big climb, big features, potentially adding stuff that could delay this challenge even longer. And I was having none of that, which now meant that I had 2 to 3 business days to finish this entire challenge. So yeah, I really needed to get moving. That completion was happening whether the server liked it or not. Oh my god. Oh my god. Finally, after all the struggles, I got my first completion of Winter Catastrophe. Hooray! Now, if the goal was just to do Winter Catastrophe, well, then that would be that. But the goal isn't to just do Winter Catastrophe. I still had to do 30 more climbs after the most nerve-wracking part. I still had so many chances to make a mistake and have to start over. So, the journey's still far from over. But I can't say it wasn't close. This was now officially attempt 25. After taking in the fact that I had actually beaten the mountain, I went to none other than Mount Firethorn, the other climb that had killed me unfairly before. It felt like a no-brainer to get that out of the way. I was feeling a combination of happiness and astonishment, but also not a lot of confidence or expectation. I mean, no way I would get the winning run after only one completion of Winter Catastrophe. My next choice was Ravenous Ravine because it scared me or something, but whatever. At that point, I was just happy to be somewhere other than Winter Catastrophe. I made it through with no problems and also cleared that Echo Hollow, and then I finally decided to take on the other big mountain in the game, Volcanic Ascent, where an unfortunate corner grab would finally end that run almost 4 minutes into the mountain. No, really a sad way to end the run, especially because I felt way more comfortable doing this climb than Winter Catastrophe, but maybe I did underestimate its ability to kick my butt just a little bit. 4 out of 31 climbs done, which doesn't seem too crazy, but since it counts Winter Catastrophe, I would say that it is more impressive than the 29 out of 31 run from day 2. So I will count it as a personal best, and I'll also keep count of how many times I beat Winter Catastrophe. So happy with my run, I went to sleep and woke up ready for day 5 of the grind. Now, having to do Winter Catastrophe all over again did seem a bit daunting of a task, considering that it did take me 2 whole days to do it once. But a nice thing about consistency is that when you do something once, well, it doesn't take much longer to do it again, and again, and again. And that is exactly what happened. And oh boy did I feel that consistency, because I kid you not, I got another completion on my second try of the day, as if I didn't fail hundreds of times just to do it once. I'm actually more nervous than like the first time I did, and I don't know why. Okay, let me just go get my hands like less sweaty, bro. Absolutely ridiculous. But the nerves were high. Somehow I was more nervous doing it the second time, which I don't know how that even makes sense, honestly. So I had to get a towel to constantly wipe the sweat off my hands. Sadly, I didn't even get 5 seconds to make anything out of this run because of a grip. Oh my god, dude. Luckily, I did Winter Catastrophe again the very next attempt. That's right, twice in a fucking row. I just did the hardest thing in the game twice in a row after struggling so much, and this time no silly mistakes. I quickly matched my best run by completing the same climbs as before, and I even beat it by doing Dust Reach Chasm as well. But again, I met a similar fate in Volcanic Ascent by possibly my most frustrating mistake yet. I can't believe it. It was pretty safe to say that I was getting too comfortable with this mountain. I could not be doing these types of mistakes after doing the hardest climb. I think this really drilled into my head that volcanic ascent was not as easy as I really thought, and I would have to focus up if I really wanted to do it. Wasting 15 minutes on Winter Catastrophe just to die like this is not good for this challenge at all. So back to Winter Catastrophe I went, ready to do it again. 30 minutes later, I got my 4th completion of Winter Catastrophe. I was really on a rampage through this mountain. I did Mount Marathon and went straight to volcanic ascent this time, and I died instantly. How do you even fail that? Doesn't matter. Another 30 minutes, another Winter Catastrophe completion. I could probably do this mountain blind now using echolocation or something. Went straight to volcanic ascent this time, and I died to the same exact hold again. Again? I died in the same place again? I literally felt like I wasted nearly 2 hours of my time because I couldn't do a mountain that I thought was not even that hard. It was now 1 a.m. on day 6 of the challenge, Friday. I had literally one more day to finish this up, and I felt once again stuck with no progress in hours, just like the other times that I felt stuck. But due to the nature of this challenge, I could do nothing but restart the run and keep trying. Everything needs to go perfect. This entire run would last over an hour, and one single mistake would send me right back to the beginning. I kept pushing through the night, slowly getting more tired and accepting that it may not get done today. Oh shit, I was not looking, bro. And when I did complete Winter Catastrophe, well, then Volcano would crush any hopes of the run going anywhere. But finally, at 2:30 a.m., it felt like I was finally regaining my senses. Finally making it through volcanic ascent, the climb that had given me the most heartbreaking fails yet. Then I kept going. Ravenous Ravine, Mount Firethorn, Dust Reach Chasm, slowly but surely taking out all the remaining hard climbs left. Ruined Skyscraper, Echo Hollow, Abandoned Offshore. I was now convinced that this was the run. But when I was ready to complete 4 seasons, the game decided to pull one last unfair trick to stop me at my tracks. What? Was that a crimp and I just didn't realize? And with my best shot at the run gone just like that, now the clock ticking towards 3 a.m., I decided to end the day off with a 9 out of 31 personal best and 7 whole Winter Catastrophe completions in a single session. Because yes, I tried one last time after that heart-clenching fail, and guess what? Yeah, I died in Volcano once again. So I did what any rational human would have done hours ago and went to sleep. Waking up the next day, I felt refreshed but also a bit anxious. It was probably the last chance I would get before the game update, and my best was still a measly 9 out of 31. But I knew that if I just got past all the hard stuff, then I would be able to breeze through all the easy climbs, which is basically what happened on the last run. But you know what happened. No matter what happened, I would push for that perfect run no matter what it took. Not only that, but this time I was with some company to hopefully help calm my nerves. It took a bit to warm up, but after an hour, I managed to beat Winter Catastrophe for what hopefully would be the last time. And so I went straight into volcanic ascent. Having now beaten volcanic ascent, all that I had to do was finish all the slightly hard maps and clean up all the easy climbs as a victory lap. I went into the map that killed me last time, 4 seasons, but this time I did make it through. Something did feel special about this run. Throughout the entire playthrough, I did not get a single ounce of nerves. Not once I was shaking or breathing heavily. My hands were not sweaty, and I wasn't even worried about the possibility of falling. This was truly the run. And finally, after 75 long minutes, I did it. Yeah.
Come on.
Let's jump. Let's jump. Let's go.
Yeah,
We did it. Yeah.